Record crowds, rivalries, injuries, and more. This football season was filled with excitement, determination, and a strong bond between its players.
Team 111 dominated this season, averaging over 40 points per game and even forcing their opponents into multiple running clocks for the second half. From senior leadership to the rising underclassmen, every player shined on and off the field.
They faced many challenges, but when it mattered most, the Rams overcame their obstacles. I'm Genter.
And I'm Kate Crowell. Get ready to tackle the play-by-play.
This year, Rockford returned 3 players who were beneficial to both sides of the ball. Senior captain Ryan Ahern went into his 3rd season playing both running back and linebacker. He was a force to be reckoned with both ways. On offense, Ryan was able to make it to 17 touchdowns, and defensively, his toughness shined as he managed 105 tackles in the regular season, 12 of which for a loss. No wonder he is now committed to Ferris State University to continue his football career alongside his older brother, Zach.
Junior safety Isaac Poot was able to put a stop to his competitors' offense all season. From a quarterback's throw to a player running the ball, he was there to try and prevent that first down. On offense, he was no different. Although he didn't fill the running back position as much as others, when he was out there, he knew how to find his way into the end zone for a touchdown Rockford. Not to mention, he also makes appearances on special teams.
Although he was out for the season last year, junior Cade Friesen was ready to put up a fight. He played both fullback and outside linebacker for the majority of the season. On defense, he managed a few interceptions and forced an occasional fumble. Offensively, he was there for when Rockford was looking to run the football up the middle.
After a decade of no competition, old rivals found their way back to the same field. On Muskegon's first possession of the night, sophomore safety Luke Ahern was prepared to make a stop to their offense. This was only the start for this first-year varsity player as he continued to push back the competitors' offense alongside his older brother Ryan.
The Rams were able to go into the second half 21-7, putting them in a comfortable position. However, the Big Reds were determined and only allowed Rockford to add 6 more points to the board, making the final score 27-7.
The journey to the Lakeshore wasn't over for the Rams as they traveled back to the Muskegon area to face off against Mona Shores. Senior captain Drake Irwin was a powerhouse in this game. He went 10 out of 16 passing for 207 yards, 2 of which were to senior wide receiver Cam Cruisinga.
Cruisinga combined for a total of 131 yards and touchdowns. They even introduced some trick plays as running back Ryan Ahern was the one to throw a touchdown pass to Cruisinga.
Although the Rams couldn't score until the second quarter, they went 10-0 going into the half and ending the game 38-8.
In their first conference matchup of the season, another sophomore was ready to make his mark on this team. With 56 seconds left in the first half of the game, linebacker Sam Cummings picked off a pass from Jennison's quarterback, resulting in a 30-yard touchdown. This put the Rams at an impressive 49-6 in just the first half of play.
Unfortunately, they weren't able to put any more points on the board, resulting in a score of 49-12, an impressive win over the Wildcats.
The first home game of the season was one to remember. After losing to Caledonia last year in round 2 of the playoffs, the Rams were determined to fight the whole way through the game. Caledonia had moved down this season to Division II after their state finals appearance last year, but that didn't stop them from having a 41-point average for their first 3 games.
In 2021, Rockford debuted their new football stadium, Carlson Munger Stadium. It's always held many fans, but this anticipated matchup attracted 12,750 fans, a record crowd. This can place a lot of pressure on athletes as they look to impress.
And it probably didn't help to have the pressure of Caledonia also weighing them down. Let's look into how some of Rockford's athletes and coaches felt about the game.
We were very disappointed in the previous year's playoff result.
Definitely thought we had the team to beat them.
Kind of had a little chip on your shoulder against that game versus Caledonia because we all believed that we were good enough to beat them last year, and things just didn't roll our way.
Whatever happened last year, it honestly didn't matter in the game because it's over, and that was a year ago with a completely different team.
Whatever happens on this play will decide the fate. Mason McKenzie's going to keep it himself. And into the end zone. Caledonia wins it.
I'm proud of the way that our kids never really looked at one game as the end-all, get-all.
We really didn't want to take them lightly. I mean, we didn't want to be taken down by them. We really kind of had like a fire under our butt, like really thinking like, wow, they're good this year. We can beat them though. We're better.
So the work all week was, let's prepare to be successful. We knew that we had to prepare in a certain way to make sure the outcome was going to be the way we wanted.
That whole week was just, Caledonia's a super good football team, and so are we. And it was just going to be a super good game.
Walking onto the field, seeing everybody there, seeing everybody in the stands, around the fences.
Players eat it up, I eat it up as the coaches. It builds momentum on the field, and it just gives you a little adrenaline.
There's definitely some energy that the kids can feed off from.
I think we're all amped up.
It was a great environment to play in. And
from time to time, I'd be on the sideline, I'd look up and I'd see people standing 3 deep on the railing.
I mean, it was just so cool to see the whole community come around us just to watch a high school football game.
It's amazing to see the support our community has for our athletes.
And this OK Red showdown resulted in a 42-16 win for the Rams over the Fighting Scots.
Before the next game against West Ottawa, quarterback Drake Irwin was having some trouble with his ankle. He only appeared in the game for a few plays before senior wide receiver Seth Anderson stepped in for the game.
It was a rocky start for both teams, as they were turning the ball over constantly. From fumbles to interceptions, both sides were struggling. After a 14-6 lead going into the half, the Rams were able to set up for another 4 touchdowns. One of these touchdowns was achieved by senior defensive lineman Gabe Stauffer.
At the West Ottawa 23, Stauffer intercepted the ball and drove it into the end zone. The Rams took home the win with 39-12 over the Panthers, making the record 5-0.
After an uneasy game against West Ottawa, Braden Daniels, a sophomore on JV, was moved up to the varsity team. He showed much promise, and after Drake's injury in the Caledonia game, the coaches knew they needed someone to step up.
He was able to impress the crowd and led the offense to 7 touchdowns on 7 possessions. He also managed 134 passing yards and 51 rushing yards while maintaining his composure.
Oftentimes, athletes can become unpredictable in these situations, but he was ready to step up to the challenge. I think it's easy to say he impressed the crowd, his teammates, and his coaches.
The Rams walked away with a 49-8 win over the Buccaneers, with 42 of their points being scored in the first half.
At this point in the season, Rockford is now ranked as the number 2 team in the state. In the game against East Kentwood, it was difficult to keep control of the ball due to the downpour.
However, it didn't hold the Rams back, as in just the first quarter, they made the score 35-0. After Lewis Boscher blocked a punt by the Falcons, Sam Cummings was able to run the ball into the end zone for a touchdown Rockford.
Irwin even returned for this game and ran in for a 26-yard touchdown, a great comeback. They ended with 55 points, and the defense was able to keep up all game, making it so that East Kentwood wasn't able to score.
When preparing for the Granville game, Rockford's #1 rival, the team knew that they would need to prepare differently. Granville runs a very impressive wing T offense led by sophomore running back Jaden Terry.
Before meeting up against Rockford, he was averaging 213.1 yards and 3.1 touchdowns per game. There's no wonder this young athlete is already receiving D1 offers.
However, for a game that mostly depended on running the ball, Rockford was able to make a stop to several of his runs. During the game, it was downpouring, which meant the play calling would have to change for the Rams offense because they rely so heavily on passing the ball.
It seemed like they would be at a double disadvantage due to playing at Granville and having to rely on their run game. But they persevered and were able to get the job done. Let's dive deeper into how they adjusted their play calling and prepared for this different offense.
Playing Granville's offense is a completely different scheme than anything else.
Our D linemen did a really good job of setting the line of scrimmage and pushing their offensive line back, which made it easier for everyone else behind them.
Especially when you go against those wing T teams, it's very much an assignment-based football game.
Their goal is to get 2.5 yards. If they do that, they feel that's a success, because then they just kind of chunk their way down the field. It makes that offense a very difficult thing to defend.
They have 12 plays pretty much, and that's including going to the right or to the left.
Well, it's not like we didn't know what Granville's going to do.
I mean, we've been playing them since 18,000s.
It's discipline all game long of their duty. They're 1/11th, and they have to do it over and over, not just one time, because you know they're going to be running a very similar play the next.
In the Granville game, we didn't throw the ball more than 10 times.
Thankfully, we had dominant running attack between our offensive line, Ryan Ahern.
I was really scared for our offense because we passed the ball quite a bit. I feel like even when we had rain games, Drake still threw pretty well. I mean, every now and then one would slip or a receiver would drop it, but for the most part, I feel like we did really good in the rain. Defensively, it just helps when it's raining because it messes with the other team. I feel like our team overcame that more than our opponents did when we played them.
Defense, we just had to toughen up and get ready for the cold.
Being dominant that game, I think that really set us up for success, and it led us to actually performing in the other rain games also, just having the mentality that we know we can do it and we've done it before.
We just kept playing our kind of football, run the ball more and just adjust to the conditions.
For the final game of the regular season, the Rams were faced with the Hudsonville Eagles. In just the first 14 seconds, Isaac Poot was able to run the ball in for a 98-yard touchdown.
It's no wonder he can defend and score so well. All of Rockford's players shined on the field tonight. Lucas Pitch, Blake Lindsley, and Ryan Ahern all found their way into the end zone, while Sam Cummings led the defense with 7 tackles.
This 48-0 victory led the Rams to their 5th consecutive OK Red Conference title championship.
For the first game of playoffs, they once again faced off against West Ottawa. At the end of the first quarter, the Panthers running back Caden Forbes sped past the Rockford defense for a 70-yard touchdown, which brought the score to a slim 7-6.
Christian Harima was able to put the Rams in a good field position after he forced West Ottawa into a fumble. Irwin connected with Cruisinga for an 11-yard touchdown, resulting in a score of 28-6 after the first half. Rockford's defense is the real star of this game, as they didn't allow the Panthers to score any points after the first quarter.
The offense, however, continued to play with the same intensity all night. Cam Cruisinga, Seth Anderson, and Braden Daniels were all able to score, resulting in a Rams win of 48-6. The next step for the Rams was districts.
They knew they would be faced with either Hudsonville or Granville. The game was a battle going back and forth. It looked like Hudsonville could go home with a win, but Granville came back and made the final score 22-21. To hear about the district finals game against Granville, we'll send it down to junior linebacker Cade Friesen.
For the district finals game against Granville, we started off a little slow. On Rockford's first possession of the night, Granville's number 4, Ethan Newville, was able to pick off a pass intended for Rockford's Cam Cruisinga. It wasn't a great way to start the game, as it gave Granville the opportunity for an early lead, but our defense was ready. Late in the second quarter, Hudson Hensley forced Granville's quarterback to fumble the ball and ultimately be recovered by the Rams. Thankfully, with less than a minute left in the half, Ryan Ahern was able to rush it into the end zone with 1 yard to give Rockford the first lead of the night. It was just a jump start we needed. In the third quarter, Rockford was able to score 3 times, twice by Ahern and once by Cruisinga. This put us in the comfortable position we were used to. After a hard-fought game both ways, we were able to walk away with a 49-28 win over the Bulldogs, advancing us to the regional finals.
For the regional finals, Rockford was faced with their first new opponent of the season. It was a battle of the unbeaten, and everyone believed Rockford had the upper hand going into the game.
Rockford had a very slow start and wasn't able to pick it back up until after the first half. Unfortunately, this led to the team's downfall. It was a very upsetting defeat for a team who was determined to make it to the state finals. Isaac Poot was able to jumpstart the offense, but that wasn't much help for them overall, as they allowed 28 points to be scored by Davison.
Looking out on the field, you could really feel all the emotions these players and coaches were feeling after this game. Why don't we take a look into how they prepared, played, and felt after the game?
Leading up to the Davison game, how our kids prepared, I thought we had a very good week of practice.
We were so locked in with our assignments, our jobs the entire week.
I knew it was going to be our biggest challenge yet.
I was extremely excited and I was extremely nervous going into the game. We had that same thing against Granville, so we definitely weren't out of it yet.
Going back out on the field when they were kneeling the ball, it just kind of hurt knowing I couldn't do anything.
I don't think we played a horrible game. There was definitely some things that we probably shouldn't have let up.
Losing the game was probably one of the saddest days of my life. Just knowing I'm done with football forever. It stinks that the way it ended that way, But I mean, there's some little mistakes that we could have done better in the game.
Definitely wasn't where we wanted to end, not where we thought we were going to end.
It's always tough losing, and it's toughest on the seniors because they know it's over.
There's not a whole lot you can say to cheer people up after that point.
I feel incredibly blessed that I get to be with them.
Hey, we're proud of you. We really did believe that this group did a phenomenal job of taking the day by day, getting better, and it was a fun group to be a part of.
How appreciative I was and how thankful I was for the way that they responded all year, and then I'm here for them and excited to see what the future holds for a lot of those players.
That's what we're most proud of as coaches, that we give something to them, and the kids are proud of the fact that they took that coaching and they put their best foot forward and they're ready to go on to the next challenge. That's an exciting thing.
I would have never thought that I'd get this much out of a team. The relationships that we had on this team, it was crazy, and everyone's a brother. We all just love each other so much. They'll be my brothers for the rest of my life.
It's just a team and more of a family.
Really, it's such an extraordinary experience, and it's something that I will obviously remember for the rest of my life.
I extremely value how much football in Rockford has changed my life. I could not have asked for better teammates.
Although their season was cut short, the team has many things to be proud of. It was filled with excitement, determination, and a strong bond between its players.
Team 111 dominated this season, from running clocks to cheering each other on.
They all worked together to pull off their impressive wins. Once again, I'm Kate Crowell.
And I'm Elise Genter. Thanks for tackling the play-by-play with us.